Have you ever seen something from the corner of your eye that wasn't there when you looked again? How about hearing from a friend of a friend that while they were hiking somewhere, they thought they saw something impossible, but when they spoke to a ranger, there was always a simple explanation that left you unsatisfied? My name is Jack, and this is my colleague Chris, and we're senior wardens for the Creature Conservation Initiative. We protect the world from the creatures of superstition and myth, but more importantly, protect those same creatures from the world. Well, look at that. It's that time again.
What
Welcome
time
back,
is
everyone who's listening.
Did I miss something? Should I check my calendar?
Oh,
What's going on?
God, he's already messing me around. All right. I was just trying something new. Okay. Rather than just saying hello, but okay then. Hello,
I don't
everyone.
like
How are
change.
we doing? Hello, everyone. How are we doing? How is the audience doing? And Chris, how are you doing today?
You know, I'm existing most of the time. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love existing. I've been a professional exister for at least over 30 years now, and I'm continuing to exceed it. How are you doing?
I'm doing relatively okay, mostly because this last week has finally gone.
That's what I've been saying about the last 100 weeks.
Yeah, well, I'm going to blame you partially for why I'm quite happy this week has gone.
Me?
Yes, you.
I'm blameless.
You are not blameless.
I'm just a normal man. Normal, innocent man.
Careful, that's political nowadays. No, I get to blame you for what I've been doing today and the creature we're talking about.
And I will deny any responsibility as always.
It was many, many years ago, so I wouldn't be surprised if you have completely forgotten about this, but
Probably.
you forgot rule number 1 when it comes to speaking to the higher-ups of the CCI.
Don't tell them you've got a better job offer.
No, it is don't tell them anything that they haven't asked.
Okay. I'm not sure where this is going.
I haven't interacted with this creature for probably about at least a year and a half. I was hoping that they'd forgotten about it. But I've had to interact with this creature quite often because many, many, many moons ago, around the time when we both first started for the CCI, you let the higher-ups know that I work around horses. And have worked around horses and find I have quite an affinity for working around horses in a mundane life.
You know, it's just, I mean, everyone knows that. Could be anyone. I would never say such things.
Yeah, okay. Well, as a result, I am pretty much permanently on the mare detail.
You're the stable boy.
Yes, I've heard that nickname in the office. Mostly because the rest of you are too cowardly to deal with the bloody creatures, but at the same time, I also don't blame you.
Fair enough. I mean, we've been dealing with a lot of horses in our time, and most of them are horrible.
Yeah, there is a bit of a weird thing with mythical creatures and creatures of, fable, essentially. They do seem to like horse shapes. I mean, if it's not a shapeshifter, it's some very, very weird form of horse. But today, we're going to be speaking about a creature that you history buffs who really, really like Greek stuff might actually recognize as the mares of Diomedes. Have you ever heard of them, Chris?
Not even remotely. I have no idea what you're talking about. Should I?
I mean,
kind of my job, I guess.
Not really, but kind of, yes. It's not one of those ones where you go out and you find them all over the place. No. The mares of Diomedes are a bit of a strange creature, but let's get into the myth about them a little bit before I start.
Oh, the mares.
Yeah, the mares.
I thought you were talking about mayors, like the mayor of a town.
God damn it, man. Get your ears checked. No, the mares of Diomedes. Yeah, but let's get into the myth a little bit about them rather than me explaining too much about them already. So there's not a huge amount when it comes to the actual myth because they fall under the story of 12 labors of Heracles or Hercules or whatever it is. I can never tell. Basically, the mares of Diomedes were part of the 12 labors I think it was Labour number 8,
Yeah.
in which the titular hero was sent to go and...
Who was that hero? Could you say it again?
The titular, so title, titular.
Yeah.
Well, he was sent by King, and this is a name I never, ever, ever will be able to get right, Euryphes, or Euryphes. Trying to say that I do feel a little bit like I've had a stroke. But
All in the bondulance.
he was sent off to go steal these creatures from King Diomedes of Thrace, who was the son of Ares, yes, the god of war, and a normal human being, Cyrene. And they ruled along the shores of the Black Sea, ruling a warlike tribe of the Bistones. These horses, these mares of Diomedes, were special in comparison to normal horses because King Diomedes was very brutal.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that makes a horse special, but go on.
Well, it basically found its way into the horse's training and diet and absolutely everything, making them quite brutal.
Yeah.
And if you're a warlike culture, or you are a bunch of city-states like the Greeks were, these are very, very coveted kind of creatures by reputation.
Okay. So the horses had Spartan training, basically.
Yeah, kind of. But I think even the Spartans, based on part of the training, might have gone, that's going a little bit far.
Okay, that's saying something.
Normally, whenever we're talking about... not teaking. So, normally when we're talking about mythical creatures, we tend to need to describe how they look, but basically these were very, very large-looking horses. There's nothing particularly special about these ones. There's no like horns sticking out. There's no chains or ghostly kind of dragging along. They just looked like, well, war horses, essentially.
Okay.
Or at least that's what the myth tells us. However, what made these horses so very special was their diet. They didn't like to eat grain or oats or hay or even grass.
So instead, they ate children.
That would have made up part of their diet, depending on what King Diomedes was like
Okay.
that day, or who he could get hold of, because what he actually did was he fed them on human flesh.
Oh, well, it wasn't too far off, I guess.
Yeah, which is a bit of a strange one, because obviously horses are herbivores. They are not meant to eat flesh. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do know of a couple of horses that have, nicked the McDonald's burger or two. But they're not meant to, that's not meant to be the staple part of their diet. But weirdly enough, these ones, they subsisted off it. They only ate flesh. Their master gave it to them willingly. The horses would only eat flesh, and therefore flesh-eating horses, man-eating horses. So yes, they might have had a child if the child strayed a bit too close to the manger.
Oh,
yeah.
That sounds like horses with a lot of protein input.
That's what
Bodybuilder horses.
That's what made them big war horses.
Yeah, I see. It all comes together.
Yeah. The other thing to know about them was this diet basically made them a little bit crazy as horses go.
Aren't horses already crazy?
Horses are wonderful creatures. They're lovely to be around and they're very, very sweet. Not these ones, but most of them are.
Until you get kicked in the face.
Well, there's usually always a good reason why it's your fault.
My fault specifically.
Yes.
For anyone.
Yes, we blame all horses kicking people in the face on you.
You know what? Fair enough. Go on.
They couldn't actually be safely stabled or kept in fields. They were just dangerous. Now, I've been around some dangerous horses in my more mundane life, but these are dangerous. We're talking you could almost use them as guard dogs kind of danger.
Okay.
As a result, they could only be tethered to a bronze feeding manger by literal metal chains. That's the only way they could be held in place.
Some hardcore horses.
Yeah, we are talking some real nasty creatures here.
So, are these special horses, or were they just made that way by their upbringing and weird feeding and stuff?
Well, as far as the mythology is concerned, and as far as we've actually been able to find out, we're going to go into a little bit of what the truth is here. We don't have any reason to believe that there's some kind of special one. The diet just seemed to change them. But my view on the whole situation is that there must be something genetic about these horses that made them able to live like this.
I see.
But
it's a gremlin situation.
God damn it. All 4 of these were mares, and the fun thing was they each actually had their own names. Would you like to hear them?
Of course. Name away.
Obviously, these are Greek names, so prepare for the influx of...
Oh, that's going to be fun.
of hate mail coming our way. Yeah. So, one of the mares was Podargos, which is swift, Lampon,
Yes.
shining, Xanthos, yellow.
Okay.
Yep, bit kind of disappear. The naming convention just kind of disappears off there a little bit.
It's a DHL horse.
And Dinios, terrible.
Ooh.
So you have
Okay.
swift, shining, terrible, and yellow.
One of these is not like the others.
I was going to say, can you tell who wasn't the favourite?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Was there something special about the special one, or is it just...
No, they were all as brutal and evil as each other, according to the myth. Now, obviously, as the myth goes on, Heracles went to the island, found the mares. He didn't actually realise that they were man-eating in the first place. So depending on whichever story you follow, he left his right-hand man, Abderus, to look after them so that he could go and find the king Diomedes and kill him. And when he came back after subduing Diomedes, he found that the mares had eaten his friend, Abderus.
Oops.
So in revenge, he fed Diomedes to his own horses. Or there is the ones where he just dragged Diomedes to the horses and fed them to him after fighting him. By the myth of Heracles, he killed Diomedes permanently by... I say permanently, don't know, for all I know, it's Greek mythology. He probably could have come back if he didn't do it right, but he fed Diomedes to his own horses, which is when he obviously found out that they were man-eating. However, this actually is the only way, apparently, you can subdue and calm the mares of Diomedes. So there's no other way but to feed them human flesh to calm them down, according to the myth.
So specifically human flesh. They're not satisfied with beef or chicken.
Well, this is where the myth and the truth kind of start to diverge a little bit. If you go by the myth, they never specifically say you can feed them anything else, but they also don't say that you can't, if that makes sense. Whereas what we found in the real world is, they don't mind. They don't mind like a bit of chicken. You know, a couple of them that I found are really, really quite big fans of lamb chops. Not sure why.
Everybody loves lamb chops.
Well, I just think it might be part of their evil nature because it's lamb. Kill the children, eat the children.
Oh, don't. We better not go there. That's not going to end well for us as a race or society.
Oh, God. Yes, so part of the myth comes along at this point and says that after feeding Diomedes to his own horses, the horses were permanently calm. As a result, they went back to eating grass. They went back to being normal horses. They were just larger. But you can't always trust the stories because, as another version of the story said, the mares of Diomedes could also breathe fire.
Inconsistency in ancient myths. I'm shooketh.
I think they might have come across a different creature.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, so far, any of the ones I've ever interacted with hasn't been able to breathe fire.
Wait, are there fire-breathing horses?
So far, every single one I've ever interacted with hasn't breathed fire, and I haven't seen anything in our records that say they breathe fire, but At the same time, I have yet to see something say they don't. So who knows? But I'm probably going to err on the side of caution and say no. I don't think they breathe fire.
And maybe it depends on what they eat. You know,
those ghost peppers.
Yeah.
I've had some strong habanero sauce.
Don't ever let them go on hot ones.
So yeah, Heracles managed to bring them back to the king who ordered the horses. You know, really, really bad Amazon.
Yeah. God damn it.
Got you.
It took me a second.
But yeah, like I said, I'm not going to try and say the name because every single time I do, it really does sound like a hate crime. But one of the versions...
Which name?
The name I said at the start.
Yeah.
Of the king.
God damn it. Coward.
Yes. Nice to meet you. But yeah, so when he got them back to the king who ordered them, the king obviously was a little bit more perturbed by them, a little bit scared of these creatures, as you would be.
Can't imagine why.
And he actually demanded that they be sent to Olympus as a sacrifice to Zeus, who apparently Zeus refused them and sent wolves and lions to kill them. That is again where the myth starts to diverge from what we know as reality. Because back then, those were the only 4 known mares of Diomedes. Yet we still have them now. Even some of the stories that exist out there go against this, seeing as they were apparently released and free to roam Argos. Oh. One of their descendants is said to be the horse of Alexander the Great.
Okay.
And in other translations of the stories, the mares are freed to Mount Olympus, where some of them were eaten by wild beasts. So the wolves and the lions and the bears, as would happen in nature. I have to say is, obviously, I don't know which one of these is the truth. Apart from probably the Mount Olympus one. I haven't found Mount Olympus myself, but...
You mean they didn't really sacrifice horses at Mount Olympus?
Not as far as I'm aware. They definitely existed. They definitely were bred from, and they definitely exist somewhere in the world, seeing as we are... Well, I am having to deal with them every so often. But they exist as a bit of a weird situation. We don't have like a colony of mares of Diomedes that exist out there or anything like that. What we seem to have is almost like a genetic infection or disease, or depending on your kind of point of view, variation. We haven't been able to find it very easily. We found it in some genetic lines in horses.
So it's a combination of genetics and the diet, as far as I understand it.
That's what we think it is. Combination of genetics and the diet. And it just so happened these 4 horses had the right genetics for the diet to alter them at the time. Because what we seem to have is hidden within the genome of the horse. There just appears to be some way for this to randomly activate. Which brings me on to how I interact with them quite a lot. Or, semi-regularly as part of... It's basically in my contract that I'm part of this team.
Well.
As you said it, the colloquially known stable boy. But...
every time you interact with them is one time I do not have to, and I'm thankful for that, and stand behind every decision that led to this.
It seems to just be in some horses' genomes. We've not been able to track it well enough, because I'm sure we don't hear of every instance of this ever happening. But what happens is we start getting from some of our tips, some of our, information, rumblings about a meat-eating horse that's just been born. As a result, we deploy the stable team, me, and there are a couple of others, but it's usually me. We investigate, is it actually a meat-eating horse? Is it a horse that's just, randomly grabbed a bit of, a bit of the local cat? Just that kind of thing. Make sure it's actually something. Majority of the time, it really isn't a real alarm. We don't tend to come across that many of these creatures. When we do, we try and get genetic information about the horse. We try and get genetic information about the the parents of the horse, so the dam and the sire, and we try and find out as much as we possibly can, just so that we can keep building our detection protocols, basically. But on occasion, we will basically be brought face to face with quite a vicious and dangerous man-eating horse, which happened to me last week.
Oh, fun.
Yes, I was actually in preparation to start doing our spring patrols. So, start going around to our normal areas, picking up the creatures that, appear around springtime, doing our normal checks. And what happened was one of our researchers found something on 4chan of all places.
Oh.
That delightful place.
Yeah.
They saw a video of a horse quite brutally chasing down a small furry animal in a field. And
Okay.
you can probably guess what happened.
Yeah, I don't want to guess, but yes.
I was sent out to go and verify and to do whatever we can to deal with this.
I mean, they do that normally sometimes, don't they? Just a horse grabbing some opportunistic snack along the way. At least I heard that.
They can do, and they'll even protect their own territory, especially if it's like a stallion or something like that, or a lead mare. If they consider something to be a threat, they are able and willing to stomp it out, basically.
Okay.
The researcher did think we should investigate this a bit further. So I went out there, and I'm not going to tell you exactly where it was, but it was definitely in a, let's say, a more relaxed, legal environment.
Okay. Interesting way to put it.
Well, they sure as hell weren't bothered about what the horse was doing, and they were treating it a little bit more like a sideshow than it was a dangerous creature.
All right.
What I turned up to was basically a really, really big indoor school. So for non-horsey people, school is kind of like the arena where you ride in. And when I turned up, the indoor school was closed off. There was no entryways, no easy ways to get in or out or anything like that. Everything was locked up. And evidently, since the video and when I turned up to investigate, the owners had got a little bit more wary of the horse.
Fair enough.
And had lured it into the school and locked it up while they were trying to work out what to do with it.
Just for clarification, the school is empty at this point, right?
It definitely was empty, apart from the mare of Diomedes, that's for sure. I was told that the way in which they got him in there, luckily the groom who was tasked with enticing it in had managed to climb out through the ceiling. So he was okay. But I will say it was quite a scare to hear, because all I could hear was banging against pretty much every wall regularly, as if something was trying to get out, which is quite a disconcerting thing to come across.
I can imagine.
We tend to find these creatures when they're young. Apparently they'd had this one for a couple of years. While it wasn't fully grown, it sure as hell was big enough. We're talking a 2-year-old horse that was already standing at what we would class as 16 hands high, which, without having to go directly into the whole conversion, up to its back is at least 1.60 meters. It's a little bit more, but 1.60 meters is enough, and that's just up to the highest point of its back.
Yeah, that's a big horse.
Yeah, and like I say, these are not just like tall horses; they are stocky, well built, well muscled.
Just like me.
Something. Oh, you can believe that. But like I say, they're relatively big built creatures. Just seems to be something to do with their genetics. They just seem to build muscle.
It's the protein, I tell you.
Yeah. I kind of started walking towards the front door into the arena, so into the gates. And probably one of the first times when just mundane people, random people, have just come up to me and gone, yeah, you might want to go in through the roof and get a good look at it first before you, don't just walk through the door.
Okay.
Because this one's smart. It will smell you. It will be waiting for you. Now, obviously, horses do know when people are approaching. They've got good sense of smells. They've got good hearing. It makes sense that it would definitely hear me and know that I'm coming towards the door. But the simple fact that they were telling me that I need to go in through the roof got me a little bit worried by this one. So I asked them, how long has it been since this one has actually eaten anything? I didn't want to turn around and say eaten meat because I didn't want them to be worried about this. I'd basically persuaded them that I was kind of like animal control in their town.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was here to kind of protect them and to deal with this creature if needs be. And it turned out that they hadn't fed it since they trapped it a week ago.
Oh, that's great. The only thing better than a scary predator is a hungry scary predator.
It's stuck in this arena. It is very hungry. And
could you lob some like chicken nuggets through the roofs to calm it down?
Well, I actually did have in my bag a couple of steaks. Because what we tend to do with them is we tend to throw some food in there, they calm down, they become a bit more docile, we then sedate them, get them out. I brought a trailer with me to get them on get them on, and we then take them somewhere where we can contain them, and we do study them. It's a pasture that we have complete control of, and we feed them daily and things like that. You know, we keep them healthy and happy. We research them, we study them. And we, just deal with them however we need to. We don't need to kill them. They're just nature. They're just a bit of a mutation within nature, is kind of how we see them. They climb onto the roof of this school. Bearing in mind, this arena, it's not that tall. We're talking maybe 3 meters up to the roof, to this entrance part where I'm going in for the roof. It's a very, very low kind of school. It kind of like has a point up at the top, but it's, you kind of get the idea of what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
I've got the stakes in me, like in easy reach on this roof. I open the window and there was a rope. There was a rope that was already hung out there. Obviously the rope that the guy used to escape out of. And I did note that at the bottom of it, probably up to about 2 meters up, so there's only about a meter left on the rope, it had been chewed to all hell. Like, the horse had obviously been tearing at this a little bit, and when you looked at the window itself, it definitely been bent in a little bit, the kind of at the hinges.
Yeah.
So this was a little bit kind of scary, if I'm perfectly honest.
The horse tried to climb out.
Yeah, something like that. And looking down in the arena, could not see it. Could not
Great
see
start.
Anything. This is a pitch black arena, and this is when I realised I hadn't really understood the language that well, but basically they were telling me it was a black horse.
Oh.
So
well, that's not helpful.
No, it's not. Essentially, it camouflaged itself in the bloody school. I'm looking in there, trying to work out what's going on, poke my head down just a little bit through the window, and all of a sudden, this big set of teeth just comes jumping out the darkness at me.
Oh, jeez.
And I luckily managed to pull my head back, but turns out this thing should have been a show jumper. It's got a hell of a jump on it. Yeah, I just heard like a very, very, a kind of loud crashing as it landed on the ground, and then it just disappeared off into the school again. It was very, very hard to see. So I shouted back to him, "Can you turn on the lights inside? Because obviously it's an arena. They must have lights in there." And they're flicking the switch. No lights are coming on. The damn thing's chewed through the wiring.
What?
I'm not even sure how it found it.
How did it know to do that?
I don't know. But this thing's playing bloody Rambo with me.
Did have a bandana.
At this point, I'm actually a little bit scared here. Because partly I'm thinking, there's a man...
Only a little bit, of
there's a man-eating horse down there, and I'm supposed to be the horseman in the CCI. I'm supposed to be the one who knows how to deal with these creatures. Got my torch out, started flashing it around, and I would catch sight of the horse ever so often. But it was a fast one. It was a speedy little one. Say little. It was a speedy one. He was just moving around the school far too much. I couldn't get like a proper good view and see where it was going. So in the end, I kind of just went, all right, well, just gonna have to be a skilled horseman.
Just be a legend. Just do it.
Oh, no, it was more a case of I've obviously got the meat to try and calm it down and some food, and I've got a tranquilizing gun on me, a tranquilizer dart gun. But I just need to be able to see it, to be able to feed it and shoot it with the tranquilizer.
Seems easy enough.
Yeah, I've got another bit of rope, tied it to, replace the half chewed rope that was in there already. Lowered that down, waited for a few seconds. Nothing comes at me. Very quickly slide down the rope, land in the school, and instinctively roll forward as I land in the school, which was definitely the right idea because it charged right past me with the intent of stampeding over me if I stayed where I landed. So rolled forward, got back onto my feet, pulled out one of the big stakes, lobbed it in the direction that I thought the horse was going. I swear, this thing was like an athlete. It was just not even stopping for a second, just caught the damn thing and carried on galloping around the school. I proceeded to start moving around the school myself a little bit, dodging here and there. I had some of my, normal horsey equipment on me, so I didn't want to use a lunging whip or anything like that. I just don't really like to very much, but I did have what we call a lunging rope, which is basically just a really, really long rope on me. Finally ate through the first stake, so I went, okay, here's the second one, and aim it, wait for it, lob that thing at it just as it was getting quite close to me, running at me again. It grabbed the stake again out of the air and moved past me. Seemed to be as long as I was feeding it, it wasn't that bothered.
Yeah.
I had forgotten, though, to bring the bag down with me that had the rest of the food.
Oh, no.
So at this point, I was out of the bait, I was out of the food to feed the damn thing.
So you became the bait.
Not on this one, actually. No. This one, it seemed to calm it down enough to have had 2 decent-sized bits of meat that it was still quite aggressive towards me, but it wasn't outright charging at me by this point. So, yeah, we're calming down, we're getting somewhere. I suspected, though, the moment I shot it with a tranquilizing dart, it would probably become quite aggressive again. Purely because, at this point, it's wary of me, but I'm feeding it. So, friends, in a way? No. But at the moment I stab it with something,
it's not going to like that.
Exactly. So I just went, okay, well, there's not much I can really do about this. I'm just going to have to, be faster. So
easy.
Managed to shoot it, get it not quite where I was aiming. I was trying to aim around kind of like what we call the jugular groove, because obviously that's going to be the quickest way to get into the bloodstream. But managed to get close enough. And basically I then spent about the next 2-3 minutes just rolling around the floor like I was playing Dark Souls, trying to avoid this damn thing. Slowly, it became more sluggish and quietened down and calmed down. And then it got to a point where it was just easy for me to move around it. At which point, I obviously, got a harness on it, got the head collar on. I don't like to do it, but got a muzzle on its mouth, so it was kind of under that control. And basically let it out, took it onto the trailer, paid the owners for the horse because, that was just the easiest way to get it out of their hands. And we went off and we got it to our containment facility. And now it's living quite happily in our pasture, in our containment pasture. But that was definitely probably one of the more scary moments because I couldn't leave this thing any longer. Not if it wasn't fair on it. They hadn't fed it for a week. And when I asked them if they could feed it, they weren't planning on feeding it. Their plan was either someone deals with it or it dies. So yeah, but so that's the mares of Diomedes. They can appear anywhere in the world, and we're not sure how and why, and we're not sure exactly what activates the genetics. But for some reason, they just appear. But something in the horse's genetics activates it, and it becomes a man-eating horse. And they're not shapeshifters.
Fascinating. And terrifying. People make fun of me when I'm wary around horses, but I feel very vindicated by this story.
Well, it tends to be very, very obvious if they're man-eating horses. Not all horses are man-eating horses, and not all of them have this genetic thing. There just seems to be a couple of lines that exist out there.
Hashtag not all horses.
God, let's not go anywhere near that whole hashtag.
Better not.
But do you know anywhere where people can go near any hashtag they would like to? That's... Well. I don't know if I quite like saying that, but that is not a license. But anyway, carry on.
Yes, there are hashtags on Discord, which are not used like hashtags. They're just a thing to refer to a channel, so we'll get out of that one. You can use all the hashtags you want that exists on the server, because you can't use any other ones, I believe. And yes, the Blink and Mythology Discord is a wonderful place for you to hang out and share in your fears of horses and other creatures that people laugh at you about, but you know you're right, you know it. And you can go there and talk about episodes that we've done and suggest other episodes for us to do, because between Jack and I, we have met a lot of creatures of this world, and chances are we can tell you something about them. So feel free to recommend anything you want to hear more details about. While you are doing all that, what else could they do, Jack?
Well, while you're doing all of that, you could definitely go back and listen to all our old episodes. They are all evergreen, so you don't have to listen to them in order. You can listen to whatever creature you would like, as well as giving us ratings, thumbs up, hearts, emojis, comments, subscriptions, follows,
All of the things.
all the different things that the algorithm gods love, because it says that you love what we do, and you know you love what we do. You just know it. Why are you denying the fact that you love what we do? It's incredible.
It's the year 2025. You can just admit that you love us.
Exactly. Still,
love is free.
Still not your dating profile.
Not yet.
Doing anything that you can to, to promote us, talk to your friends, tell your friends about us. It just makes the algorithm gods love us, and that means that we get to do more. The more we do, the better it sounds.
Exactly. All hail the algorithm, you know how it works. Yeah, but I guess that's the advertising segment done, and if there's nothing left to say, then I'm just gonna say thank you very much for listening. I hope you do it again in the next episode, if there is one, which there will be, but it sounds more ominous that way. Anyway, goodbye.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.